Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Titans issue 29 by John Layman and Pete Woods. The evacuation of Earth continues this issue as 1 week prior to the DCKO event, the Titans gather for breakfast with Roy asking the question that's on everyone's mind. What's going to happen to the villains when they evacuate the Earth, since as much as they want to leave them, they can't? Donna lists off a bunch of ways that they are going to be dealing with them, from the Phantom Zone to Shrink Tech, along with several of Earth's largest detention facilities being moved along with the evacuation process. It's a great thing seeing heroes who are all over this event and just like on ball with what's happening. They actually have a solution to many of these problems, and decent solutions too, and it's all stuff we saw in the background of the first issue of DCKO getting properly fleshed out, and we're getting to see some of the other side of that through this book. Raven, however, has some thoughts about all of this, but doesn't voice her opinion just yet, as Starfire wonders about villains like Deathstroke, who have fallen off the grid and are hard to locate. Donna, though, doesn't want to treat any threat any differently than they did before. They just have to stay vigilant. In the present, Nightwing cannot believe that they have managed to move millions of people off of Earth in record time, and while the bigger evacuation is still underway, it's a great achievement. Raven is still a little overcome by the millions of people and their varying emotions, finding most filled with fear and uncertainty. Dick is a little bit more hopeful as always, knowing that they lucked out as the evac point was perfect, thanks to their host, who is revealed to be Amethyst, who has welcomed the heroes and the people to Gemworld. Amethyst and her world getting to be part of this event and this book is just wonderful, and a great use of Gemworld, since why not take the entirety of another realm to house some people? You know, it makes sense that they would, rely on a friend who's the princess of a completely other planet for help. One thing I do like is how spread out the human population is for the evac. Like, they're not just moving all of Earth's people to one spot. We've got people here in Gemworld, there's some in space in the lunar bases and the Titans Tower, some in the bottled cities, some in other dimensions. It's a very smart strategy should someone attack. They're not gonna, completely wipe out humanity in one fell swoop. Nightwing knows that giving Amethyst an honorary title of Titan doesn't really have the same ring as Princess, but he and the other Titans are very grateful. Amethyst knows that while she is the Princess of Gemworld, Earth was her home for a very long time as well, and the threat that faces them faces Gemworld as well, and it's the least that she can do for the heroes. She welcomes the heroes into her castle as Raven quietly asks about the +1 they smuggled into the realm, with Amethyst assuring her that they are secured in the dungeon. As they head into the castle, the heroes are approached by a guard and a little girl who they found on the outskirts of the refugee camp. The little girl says that she can't find her parents, hoping that the heroes will help them. Nightwing knows that Raven can use her powers to help find them quickly, but Raven says that there's lots of powerful emotions going on right now. It's going to take a moment for her to sift through them. So I don't know whether it's just by the dialogue or by how, she's sort of drawing in the art, but I'm getting this kind of air of frustration from Raven a little bit. Like, she obviously wants to go and deal with the +1 she smuggled in, who, if you remember last issue, she was chatting with Terra, so it's very obviously going to be Terra that they are taking. And I'm really happy about that, because they had a great sort of dynamic in that last issue where Terra was just like this catty bitch all the time to Raven, trying to like stoke the flames of hatred in her. And it was a great little dynamic, and I hope we get to see more of that. Also, the way Raven and Amethyst approach talking about the +1, quote unquote, it makes me think the other Titans maybe don't know, or maybe aren't aware what Raven is doing, maybe, or want to keep it on the down low, because I do guess if information of, the Titans brought a killer villain with them and stored it in the castle, that would get out and probably cause quite a bit of panic. Amethyst thinks that Raven's powers are amplified thanks to Gemworld, and it will aid Raven in finding the kid's parents, but in a bit of a twist, we actually learn the kid is not a kid at all, but is actually Jinx in disguise. I like how it's revealed here with Pete Woods' artwork as he does a reflection in a mirrored surface as the girl walks by, and her reflection is Jinx. And stuff in like that in comics, like mirrors in comics and like reflections, always interest me from a drawing standpoint, because it's got to be so confusing to basically draw the same thing twice, but like one is like, sort of flipped in a way, so all the details are on the opposite side. So it's got to be really confusing to draw, but Pete does an incredibly good job at like keeping it all consistent throughout this section with the reflection. Nightwing and Raven are shown to their quarters, finding the lavish room to be quite a lot, despite Raven reminding Dick that he's a literal billionaire, so he should be used to stuff like this. Dick doesn't really think that there is a lot of fairy tale castles built from mystical quartz in Bloodhaven, and talking of Bloodhaven makes them both realize the reality of the situation they are in. Earth might no longer exist, might be completely wiped off the map, and that's kind of set in for them, and it's kind of like a sobering reality to them, and they get very visibly sad. Raven wonders if the other Titans are okay since they are so split up, with Cyborg off in the Omega tournament, not knowing if he's going to survive, even with the Mother Box tech and Omega energy he has, but Nightwing has faith in Victor, believing that they will be just fine. He believes the other Titans helping out John Kent on the lunar base are safe as well, but Dick is a bit wrong, as at that very moment, Donna, Roy and John lose communications with Starfire, whose comms were cut by Granny Goodness and the arriving Furies and Parademons, who launch an attack on the 3 spacebound Titans towers in orbit around the lunar base. I was kind of worried we wouldn't get to check in with all the different Titans teams, at least for this issue, since they were all greatly spread out, but like I said earlier, I like how smart it is to spread out humanity, and it's kind of a great idea to do the Titans as well spread out, since we get, a space adventure, we got a fantasy fairy tale stuff with Nightwing and Raven, and then we also get to see what's happening with Beast Boy and Girl with their little team, and they're on like a far off alien planet that was apparently safe, but there's all sorts of weirdo alien monsters on there that they have to combat, and it's great. The monsters as well look really cool. I like what Pete Woods does with the monster design. They're like these giant, like spidery looking things. They look very comical, and it's just really fun seeing like weird designs like that in a comic book. Nightwing and Raven, who still think everything will be fine, find out that they are very wrong as a loud boom shakes the castle. The duo race out to find what the explosion was, with Dick thinking that it's their +1 they have in the dungeon. As I said before, I thought maybe Raven hadn't maybe told the other Titans about what was going on with Terra, but I do like that they are seemingly all on board with Terra coming along in this faction, and it was basically them hiding probably from the people that they have a villain with them, because that would not go down well. As the duo race into the throne room, they find it's not Terra they have to worry about, it's Jinx, who has dropped her little girl act and trapped Amethyst and her men in crystals, demanding Nightwing and Raven bow to the new princess of Gemworld. Back in space, Granny Goodness leads the charge against Titan's towers, but Starfire keeps them at bay, telling the towers to get out of the area while she holds them back. Luckily, Starfire isn't out there alone, as Jessica Cruz and the Green Lantern Corps arrive to back her up. I was kind of wondering when the Green Lanterns would get involved in this event, and it didn't disappoint. I like that we're getting them here. They've been kind of silent on a lot of this sort of DCKO stuff, I guess, because obviously the Green Lantern book is doing some other stuff right now. We just had the big Starbreaker arc and a bunch of other stuff happening, so they're kind of spread thin at the moment. But it's great Jessica gets to be here, and we get a couple of different other familiar lanterns there to help her out. But Granny Goodness doesn't let her parademons pursue the heroes or get into a fight with them or the towers, as their mission was to head to Earth. The Lanterns help cart the towers to safety, where it's revealed that the Royal Tamaranian fleet, led by Queen Blackfire, are there to help as well. We are really getting a great smattering of DC sci-fi cosmic stuff in this issue, and I'm all for it. I like that we get to see all these different factions coming to help out Earth when they need it the most. Although with Blackfire, it really does feel very self-serving, since she mentions, like, thanks to saving the people of Earth, now they kind of owe her their lives, so they will no doubt have a debt that she will collect on at some point in the Titans book. I imagine that's going to be like a Starfire arc we see in the coming issues. Back on Gemworld, Jinx reveals after hearing of Gemworld and the gems that enhance magical abilities, she disguised herself and manipulated probabilities to ensure that she would be on the planet where her abilities were greatly enhanced. On top of her souped up powers, Jinx also found the Gemworld royal houses and their sorcerers, taking their powers for herself. She blasts Nightwing and Raven with her newfound powers, conjuring up giant monsters to fight the heroes, as she proclaims that she is now omnipotent. So we have reached the point in the Titan story where everything's kind of beginning to not go well for them. I knew this point was happening because up until now, and it was Dick kind of like jinxing it there at the start. Here, jinxing it, get it? But he basically said, it's all good. You know, we've evacuated all these people. You know, he didn't knock on wood or anything. You know, he must have walked under some ladders or, you know, stepped on a black cat or something, because now everything's going bad for all of these groups. The threats, much like the adventures the heroes are going on, always feel very different as well. We got the sci-fi cosmic threat, plain supervillains, you know, attacking Gemworld, you know, magical stuff with Gemworld. It's all really cool stuff. The one thing though that I have become noticing, especially as we get into the third act of this book, is that we're not really getting a lot of character development with any of these characters. I mean, I don't expect that to happen in every single issue, especially in an issue that is a tie-in to a very big DC event. So this book is really just serving that big event and setting things up and, you know, fleshing out things we've seen just in passing in all those big books. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. I know some people won't be very happy with that they didn't get, you know, some sort of development on like the Raven Terror, you know, dynamic which we got last issue. But I'm enjoying the tie-in because it feels like it's actually mattering. You know, there's big stakes in this tie-in, and I think that's what a lot of tie-ins miss, is the big stakes. And, you know, they're looking after literally millions of people of Earth, and if they die, you know, that's a huge swath of the population of Earth gone, and you know, it's not something very small or inconsequential to the overall arc of the event. Nightwing tells Evac control of the complication, wanting some backup, but he can't get through to Donna or the others, with Raven even having trouble with her telepathy as everything from Earth seems to be blocked. Cut off from their friends and backup, Raven thinks that they need to wake up their +1, which is a terrible idea, but they have no other choice. She quickly heads down to the dungeons, unlocking Terra's containment cage and telling her of the situation with the evacuated Earth and the tournament, and how she volunteered to keep Terra secured for Donna. Raven believes that freeing Terra might just be the only way they can save the world, hoping the villain doesn't make her regret it. As I've been saying throughout this entire review, the interaction we got with Terra and Raven was probably one of my favorite parts of that last issue. I really enjoyed just like the bitchiness of it. It was a very fun sort of like good cop, bad cop sort of lethal weapon dynamic they had, where, you know, you've got Terra there who just wants to like cause chaos and sow dissent between the Titans and just cause so much trouble, and then Raven's trying to like keep her on the straight and narrow and keep her, you know, contained and everything. It's a really cool dynamic, and it looks like we might be getting more of that once the tie-in picks up after the next Cyborg versus Swamp Thing big round, which is in issue 30. Speaking of Cyborg, elsewhere, he gets ready for his one-on-one fight in the Omega tournament, reminding himself that he can do this because he is a Titan and he's got friends counting on him. Getting up, Victor heads out to his fight with Swamp Thing, continuing to remind himself that he can do this or he'll die trying. Titans issue 29 continued the split-up team adventures in space, other dimensions, and on other planets as they evacuate Earth, and while there isn't much in the way of character development, as we've got a few plots to shift forward and build out for DCKO, I did enjoy breaking the teams down into smaller, manageable groups, giving each their own little adventure that covers a bunch of classic comic book premises, like a medieval, you know, fairy tale adventure and cosmic sci-fi space opera. It's all really fun stuff, and I'm really enjoying what John Layman and Pete Woods are doing in this book. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10.